have a link that you could email to me, then I'll just update the banner.
But no one can see it unless they don't know this.
Right.
I have to go through. I'm out of my regular Wake County account and the Washington account to email.
No.
Yes, I am.
Oh.
It signs you out of your.
Or the copy paste. Okay. Or I can just take a picture of it. I'll just go type it.
And if you can dojo it out too.
Mm-hmm. Good morning.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you're going to send the dojo.
Mm-hmm. Can we go back to the stream?
Hey, this is Washington Elementary School. Getting ready for our live stream. You come stand over here next to me so we can. Okay. We're just getting our live stream ready and having some technical difficulties. So if you're watching this later on, there's going to be a little bit of a lag time before we start because we're sending out our live stream link again. And we will go ahead and get that sent out through Dojo. Again, if you're going to be tuning into us or you're watching this after the fact of the recording, we're getting ready to talk about our school improvement plan and also social emotional learning. But we're going to give folks a few minutes because we need to get our live stream link resent out. As a couple of reminders, if you're going to be watching live or watching later on tonight, tomorrow is a late start. We start school at 10:50 because of voting. Tomorrow is November the 6th, Election Day. And also next Monday, we have no school because it's the Veterans Day holiday to honor our veterans. So we're just sending out this new live stream link, and I'm going to make sure that our sound is good. So I'm going to call someone who may be watching at the moment and see if they can hear us okay, and then we'll get started. Just testing our sound. Hey, can you hear us okay? Okay, and have you sent out our link with Dojo? Thanks so much. Okay, we're going to wait just a few more seconds so people can get the new link for our live stream. And this is an overview about our school improvement plan and what is social emotional learning. If you are watching a recording of this, if you would check your email or your Dojo messages, I sent out on Sunday evening a link to a copy of our graphic from our school improvement plan. And our school improvement plan is really our plan of action, our roadmap for how we support students and teachers and families here at Washington. We have a tree as part of our SIP graphic, and I know that the words are backwards for you if you're watching it, but the tree represents us growing together, and then there's different teams that are part of the roots that help to provide the nutrients and the work towards reaching our SIP goal. And our SIP goal is by July 2020, Washington Elementary will meet or exceed growth as reported by EVOS, which is a tool that measures how much students grow over the course of a year. And students will meet or exceed the Wake County's average proficiency for their EOGs in grades 3, 4, 5. And we've got several steps that we're going to be using to help kids and staff make progress in many different areas. Some of those are academic, and we have steps in place to support that academic growth. But also, we have components in place to support something called social emotional growth. And that's not just the social emotional growth of students, it's the social emotional growth of staff. Mrs. Sykes is going to dive into that in a little bit more detail as she talks about what is SEL, or social emotional learning.
Good morning, everyone. So, I want to explain what SEL means, social emotional learning, and it's the acronym for that is SEL, social emotional learning. And CASEL is the lead organization that is trying to systemize um, the definition and the strategies and the way that we are implementing SEL in classrooms from K or pre-K all the way to 12th grade across the nation. So they define social emotional learning as the process in which students and adults acquire the effective skills, knowledge, and attitudes in order to understand their emotions, set and make the positive goals, feel and show empathy for others, as well as establish positive relationships and make responsible decisions. So within social emotional learning, there are five key competencies that we can work on. And they include the first one, self-awareness. That is helping students and staff be able to understand the emotions that they're feeling in order to understand how to go about attacking a task or understanding a behavior. So, for example, in the classroom, if a student is working on math and it's a difficult concept to understand initially, the student may become frustrated. Well, if we are able to help the student understand that they are frustrated, we can move into that self-awareness and know that the feeling that I'm feeling inside is not anger, I'm not sad, but I'm frustrated because this concept is difficult for me at this time. And with self-awareness, we try to garner a growth mindset because it may be difficult right now, but I'm going to work hard to try to understand the concept, and later it will become more easy for me to tackle. And so we move from self awareness to self management. So now that we understand how I'm feeling about this math problem, self management is I'm frustrated. What do I do about it? So being able to understand that emotion and regulate it. So if that student understands that they're frustrated because the problem is hard at that moment, then maybe the teacher or other classmates can help that student to regulate their emotion by trying a different strategy or asking a teacher for help or asking a friend for help. So they move from being frustrated to using a strategy to understand how what to do with my frustration.
You mentioned if people have questions, they can type in questions in the chat bar on the side.
And if you have questions, please feel free to type into the chat bar. I can see those of you who are watching live, and I can see chat questions when they pop up. So if you have questions, feel free to ask. Or if you're watching this later, feel free to email me, rsykes, Rsykes, and you can send me your questions at any time. So the next component of SEL is social awareness, and that's the ability to understand the perspectives of others, showing empathy, and being able to include their perspectives and the way that they view things, so that they are able to work across cultures and across differences because we don't always all agree. But the key component there is to be able to understand the differences in order to overcome it and work together. So that's social awareness, appreciating different perspectives and being able to show empathy in order to work together. Within social awareness is a good opportunity for us to collaborate and build communication skills as well. Next, we have relationship skills. Under this component, it is the ability to establish and maintain and nurture positive relationships. And this is really important when we're teaching students the value of friendships and understanding good dynamics in a friendship and making the right decisions when you're with friends. So we teach our students that you can be friends with anyone, and within those friendships, you can be able to communicate and engage within that friendship in order to be productive in the classroom, to communicate, to engage in learning, and to engage in teamwork. So, with the responsible, the relationship skills, those are the key components in which students are going to be learning how to do through kindergarten through fifth grade here and on in middle school and high school. Um, and then the last of the five is responsible decision making. And we all know how important that is from students all the way to adults. And this is basically just teaching our students about our personal behavior and making choices based on the situations that we're in. So, making sure we're making safe choices, understanding the value of our choices before we make them. So, understanding consequences happen because of the choices that we make, and making choices in consideration to others. So if I do this, how would that affect my friend here? Or how would that affect my classmates or my teacher or my bus driver? So those are the key components under responsible decision making that we are teaching students and we're working on with staff to embed in instruction in the classroom. So, one way that we're teaching social emotional learning in school this year is through morning meeting. Morning meeting is not new, but staff is being intentional about making sure that they are talking about social emotional learning, talking about the five components and what each one means. And a way that staff is understanding SEL for themselves is by engaging in some SEL development for us as adults, because the same components apply to us. So we get frustrated and we have a lot to balance and be able to manage. So we have to understand our own self awareness, being able to manage, and how we are socially aware of others around us and making responsible decision making. So the best way we can teach SEL is to model it for our students. Then going beyond that, we embed it in morning meeting. But SEL is not set aside in a block like math or ELA or electives. It's integrated in all those things. It's integrated in lunch. It's integrated as students are walking down the hallway. It's teachers taking the opportunity and recognizing teachable moments to say, oh, I really like your self management. You recognize that if you walked this way with your friend, it may have caused a little trouble or delayed you from getting to class on time. So you went this way. Great job. So teachers are being intentional about integrating SEL in all aspects of our school day. So that's SEL. If you want more information, please go to casel.org. That's CASEL.org. And they have a huge parent section. So if you want to help us to support the students here at school, there are a lot of different suggestions and ideas in which you can integrate social emotional learning at home. If you have questions, let me know.
Great. Thank you so much, Ms. Sykes. I'm just going to move our camera up a little bit so my head doesn't get cut off. Families, really appreciate you taking the time to tune in today if you're live. And again, if you have questions, you can type them in right now and we can see them on our screen and we'll respond to you live. If you're watching this at a later date and it's a recorded version, then you can email Ms. Sykes at rsykes@wcpss.net, or myself, Bob Grant, your principal, and my email is bgrant@wcpss.net. Now, again, I had sent out on Dojo a picture of our SIP graphic. This is just a summary of over a 10-page plan that our school has and every school in North Carolina creates to reach a goal that they want to meet, typically academic based. But I just want to take a few moments as we wrap up. We're going to talk for maybe 2 or 3 more minutes to talk about our SIP plan. As you know, our goal is to learn and grow together, and that's students and staff at Washington. And we can't really achieve the great things that we want unless we're continual learners. That's a key part of the process. So we use that with our tree design. And then underneath the tree, and again, this graphic I emailed out to you last night and also sent on a dojo link so you can see it and it won't be backwards when you're viewing it. We have different teams that work together to make the different actions possible to support students and staff. So we have PBIS, which is the Positive Behavior Support Team, which helps to work on ways that we can have school-wide appropriate support for teaching positive behaviors and affirming students for those positive behaviors and developing relationships, which ties into some of the pieces that Mrs. Sykes was referring to earlier under our social emotional learning. We have the 4CAT team, which stands for the 4Cs action team. And that team is working on helping staff integrate technology and the skills of collaboration, communication, and creative thinking into their daily teaching to really create a dynamic learning environment for every kid. Then we have the intervention team. The intervention team is a group of people, myself included, that works together to think about if students are not getting something at what we call tier 1, which is the typical level of instruction that about 80% of students typically achieve mastery. If they're struggling in either reading or math, or sometimes in areas related to behavior or social emotional skills, this team comes together and tries to develop a plan of support. That's the intervention team. And the intervention team also looks at what accommodations or extra ways do we support kids, whether they've qualified for special ed, whether they're an English language learner, whether they're a student who is simply needing other ways of that information to be presented for them to access their education more effectively. Then we have the magnet team, and that's composed of staff and students and some parents who work together to help promote our magnet theme, gifted and talented, and take time to get the news out to our community that we are an awesome magnet school and the highest applied to magnet school in Wake County. And then we have our school equity team, and Ms. Sykes helps to lead that up, and that's the work that's being done by teachers and families with input from students to talk about how do we include all people in the work that we do? Do we make sure that all students have access to the educational excellence that we seek to achieve? And how do we work together to better understand each other and develop cultural proficiency? So those are our 5 teams. And then you see these different components underneath. These are simply actions that we're taking to help do this work. And this work is being done by these different teams. I'm just going to highlight a few. We talked a bit this morning about SEL, and that has to do with the area under personalized social and emotional learning. And we're doing work related to teaching staff and students about social emotional learning. We're also working with our students who need some more support learning something called zones of regulation, which is a way to achieving self-awareness and making better decisions. We're also working on having a better representation of all of our different cultures and student subgroups in our gifted challenge electives so we can challenge and nurture everybody's gifts. I'm hoping in the next few weeks we're going to receive an announcement that we're going to get a grant from Wake County along with some private donations to help support our GT Cares program. In fact, a number of you have been asking me, Mr. Grant, are we going to have that amazing after-school accelerated learning program that we had last year? And my answer is, I certainly hope so, because I'm keeping my fingers crossed, but I'm about 95% sure that we're going to earn that grant to make learning after school possible for students who really need an accelerated approach to learn skills ahead of time to help improve their success on a daily basis in the classroom. We're also hoping to link to that a partnership with our Mexican consulate to have an adult learning program for Spanish-speaking families so they can work on, at a grade at a time, eventually earning their GED. So if you are bilingual and you're interested in helping assist with that program, please let me know, because it will run 2 nights a week from 4:30 until 7. And I need a person who is bilingual to help support the families or the adults that are working in our iLab or our media center to help progress 1 grade at a time through a computer-based and a workbook-based program. So that's under our area under community and family engagement. Lastly, I'll just mention we're going to be continuing with our parent advisory and support team for safe and inclusive schools. What an amazing group of people we've had over the last 2 years. We're going to continue that work this year. If you're wondering, Mr. Grant, I'm not part of the parent advisory and support team. What is it that you do? We look at giving a voice to all people to help make sure that people have access to resources here at school. We're a problem solving group that thinks about what ways do we help increase our outreach to all groups and so that all voices are heard. If you're a person who wants to help make sure that all voices are heard and be part of developing a strong culture and community at Washington, then reach out to me, bgrant@wcpss.net. If you'd like to be part of this group, we meet about 3 times a year. We're going to go ahead and wrap up. Thank you to all the folks who tuned in today. And again, if you're not watching this live, but you're watching it later, you can email Ms. Sykes, our assistant principal and Wake County's assistant principal of the year, or myself, Bob Grant, with more questions. And we're happy to call and to speak with you on the phone, talk with you live here at school, or answer your questions by email. Have a great day.
Bye.